Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to give us just another couple minutes here for everybody to join, and we'll start at about 2 minutes past the hour. So thank you so much. All right, it looks like we are 2 minutes past the hour, so we will go ahead and get started. And once again, just want to say thank you to everybody for joining us today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Abby Myers. I'm the head of research for STEM Connector, and I will be serving as the moderator for this webinar. STEM Connector and our member network have a shared vision for a more diverse, sustainable STEM-ready workforce. And this vision is unfortunately born out of a prolonged talent crisis that we still find ourselves in today. For years, communities have been working tirelessly to equip the next generation of STEM talent, yet employers continually struggle to meet their workforce needs. And the demand is growing. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, STEM jobs are expected to grow by more than twice the rate of all jobs in the US economy over the next decade. This crisis is exacerbated by the fact that we have disproportionate participation in STEM among a number of demographic groups, including women, people of color, and those from low-income backgrounds. So it's a big problem. But we at STEM Connector know that none of us have to solve it alone. We believe that diverse, sustainable, STEM-ready workforce can be achieved through our collective action across all parts of the STEM ecosystem, including K-12 education, post-secondary pathways, and employers. And where these sectors interact is where we find the opportunities for the biggest impact. In particular, one solution set that bridges these sectors takes the form of work-based learning programs such as internships. These programs provide opportunities for students to learn and practice real-world STEM skills, as well as interact with and get inspired by real STEM professionals. These experiences help tackle that belief gap, allowing students to see themselves in these career paths, all while getting them one step closer to being ready for the workforce. However, to be truly effective, these programs need to be designed thoughtfully and with equity in mind, opening doors so that those underrepresented and underserved populations are able to fully participate. Given all of this, STEM Connector is so proud to have worked with Abbott to take their high school internship program and create a blueprint for other companies to learn from and adopt. The blueprint, titled Shaping the Future of STEM, is publicly available on our website and on Abbott's, and if you haven't had the chance already, I highly encourage everyone to check it out. And today, we are so excited to have some very special guests here to tell us all about Abbott's high school internship program. We are so honored to have with us Vildan Kehr, Divisional Vice President of Human Resources in the Rapid and Molecular Diagnostics Division at Abbott. Welcome, Vildan. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, Abby. Thanks so much for having me. I'm delighted.
So to start us off, Vildan, would you mind just giving our audience a brief overview of the high school internship program? Beginning with how and why did this program start?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for asking. So we started our program 10 years ago, believe it or not. We started small, and every year we're growing the program, and so far we reach out 150 students. So the program is basically partnering up with a couple diverse high schools, and we reach out to girls and underrepresented community members around age of 15. And we invite them to have a high school internship at Abbott. What is different is the jobs that we offer them are real jobs. And they're very well paid, and then we also manage the ecosystem in a way that they get mentors, they get trainings, and there are scheduled feedback sessions so that as they work on these jobs, they continuously grow and learn and empowered. So the program, the coolest part of it is 70% is female, and then 60% of our students are minorities. And fast forward 10 years, we now started hiring them as full-time engineers to our organization. So we know the program is working, and we're keeping them in the STEM field. So it's so encouraging for us to be able to start moving in the right direction. But our goal, as you mentioned, through Blueprint, we want to do it together with other companies.
That is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much, Vildan. And of course, you know, you're not stopping there. As I mentioned in the beginning, a couple years ago with, you know, Abbott engaging STEM Connector to create this blueprint, you really are pushing for other companies to adopt this themselves. You know, why did Abbott feel like that was important to do?
Absolutely, and thank you so much for your partnership there, right? Here's the thing, you have quoted very eye-opening statistics. Half of our U.S. workforce is female, but only 27% is in STEM field. When you look at the diversity profile of these STEM workers or population, it's pretty depressing. It's less than 10% in every single minority categories. So we can do so much. But if we engage 10, 20, 30, 100 more companies, and if they do their part, we can reach out to millions. We can change the trajectory of hundreds of thousands of students for the STEM field. So we want to do this generously in collaboration together so that we change the trajectory of this STEM shortage. Again, the other eye-opening statistic I read, 800,000 STEM worker shortage in the next 8 years. This is significant. As you said at your opening remarks, not doing something is not acceptable. We all share this problem. We all need to be part of the solution, and here is an idea that we can do together. So that therefore we generously publish this detailed playbook of our program. So it doesn't need to be a lessons learned. Any company can read through this blueprint and learn from our lessons learned and some options that how they can adapt to their own corporation.
Amazing. You know, and we've heard from companies, and I bet there's some folks in our audience too who may be asking themselves right now, you know, they hear a high school internship. They might be thinking, what exactly can a high school intern do? You know, can we have them working on real STEM projects at the corporate level? So I'm curious if you can address that for us. Give us an idea of what kinds of projects the high school interns at Abbott are working on.
So I wish you could see their presentations. I wish you could see them on the job. You would be impressed. So every year I go to these intern update meetings, and I leave the meeting and I'm like, oh my God, are you a high school student or or a full-time employee? There are a ton of work. So our high school interns are working in R&D, regulatory affairs, facilities, corporate engineering, digital planning, operations, site operations. There are a ton of great ideas if you look into your organization carefully. So again, it doesn't have to be a complicated role, and you can start small, you can start simple and add upon it. But one thing I would encourage all of you, do not underestimate these kids. Absolutely brilliant, absolutely they're performing like any other full-time employees. With the right guidance, with the right direction, with the right coaching, they do a fabulous job. and our blueprint is some ideas on the jobs, even the job descriptions. Again, you don't have to think twice, just follow the guidelines, and they will be a great starting point too.
Amazing. Thank you, Vildan. You know, these are some great examples of really rich, challenging work-based learning opportunities. You know, but on top of that, now, just this summer, there was the very exciting announcement that the Abbott program is recommended for college credit. This is an amazing way to propel these students in their STEM educational journeys. You know, can you share with us why Abbott decided to pursue that recommendation and how you went about it?
Yeah, so that was our own ambition 2 years ago. We were sitting across a meeting table, and I raised the question, okay, guys, what is next? How can we take this program to the next level? And this dream of earning a college credit was an idea at that time. And our brilliant team pursued that dream. And as you mentioned now, our program qualifies by NACE that if these kids after our high school internship program goes to college, they can apply for 2 credit accreditation, meaning that up to $3,000 is put back in their pocket, and they pass their project management or business communication classes just like a second. And because we have invested in the training module during the internship program, NACE was very complimentary about the things these kids learn, not on the job itself, but also throughout the training. And they were a great partner for us to honor their investments. So University of Illinois is a great example. They're one of the first adopters to acknowledge that, and we're expanding our college network who honors these accreditations. It's great.
That's amazing. You know, it strikes me, and it really has for a long time now, that Abbott's program differentiates itself from a lot of other internships out there through its commitment to equity. For example, you know, as you mentioned, you pay your interns, right? Even that foundational aspect to it, but also things like providing transportation and clothing to interns, and now making college credit possible. You know, can you tell us a little bit about why you think it's important for other companies to consider embedding equity in this way in their programs as well?
Yeah, I love the fact that you're using the word equity, right? I think a lot of companies are appreciating diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And this is not a new topic for Abbott. That's one of our DNA. And we deeply care about inclusive work environment. When you talk about equity, it starts with sense of belonging. I think one of the things that we achieved through this program is to give these students a sense of belonging. I think you're going to later cover their letters to CEOs, and one of our students wrote that I just didn't see myself fitting in this STEM field because I was always the outlier. I was always the only one, or no one in my family had any idea about this field. So this sense of belonging is coming through experience, but at the same time, we want to make sure that they don't have additional obstacles along the way when they go to college, or when they see the bills, or when they continue to see themselves being the minority in the class or the lab and or the project work. So we want to keep them in the field, and that can only be achieved through empowerment, financial support, taking that stress out of them, and also giving them a support in every way and any way that we can. So we're thinking holistically, how we can empower them, how can we give that sense of belonging, and how can we give additional financial security so that they continue in their journey and those little obstacles don't distract them along the way. 97% of our students stayed in the STEM field during their college years, so that's encouraging us that we need to continue to do this because it's working. And then once they're off to college, we know that they're going to do a great job. So we want to make sure that we're thinking holistically about our offerings.
Amazing. And I think from everything that you've said, like this really is an effort on Abbott's part. You mentioned earlier too that you're making this investment in these students. So I want to ask, how do these efforts factor into Abbott's longer term talent sustainability plans?
Oh, excellent question. So we publish our 2030 sustainability plan, and talent is one of the commitment areas. And first of all, we want to have a gender balanced STEM workforce. It's minimum 45% female, any STEM jobs in our organization. And keep in mind, we have 106,000 employees around the world. So that's our first commitment. We also want to inspire and encourage high school students, 100,000 students to go and study STEM and pick a STEM job. So we will do that through different programs, and high school is one of them, but through citizenship efforts, through trainings, outreach, and community support. We think that we can even do greater than that, but that's an ambitious goal that we have as well. So, and then we also have very, I'll say ambitious diversity and inclusion goals as well. So STEM, every STEM hire that we make for the organization is also positively contributing our diversity and inclusion goals. 1/3 of our leadership will be minorities, gender balanced workforce, a gender balanced leadership team, and so forth. So we are thinking this is the beginning of our talent pipeline, and then we're going to continue to keep our ambition throughout the leadership track for the corporation over the next decade.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Vildan. I want to take a moment and just let everybody know, I already am seeing some questions coming through the chat, which is amazing. Please take advantage of that Q&A function. We will have some time at the end for some questions. But, at this point, Vildan, I have just one last question for you. Can you give us some real world examples of how young women in particular have gone through the internship program at Abbott and seen success in STEM?
Yeah, I have a very good example. Lamia is a good example. So yesterday, actually, I was in Westbrook, Maine. I don't know if any one of our guests live there. So we opened up a plant in Westbrook when COVID hit the nation. Literally in 90 days, there is nothing like that. We started up a plant, and then we made it operational to produce COVID tests. So Lamia was our high school intern, then converted to college intern, and then we hired her as our professional development program to support our operations team. And then when we opened up this Westbrook facility, we sent her there because we needed to hire almost like 3,000 workers there to produce COVID tests manually. And she took the leadership role, training 2,500 newly hired workers and trained them how to produce and manually assemble the COVID test. I mean, it's not just like a great example of how to do a real work and meaningful work, but also sharing a mission and doing something great for the nation. I mean, that was amazing story. I hope she enjoyed, because it was a very intense job too. But we really appreciated her not even thinking a second. Yes, she said, I'll go there and I'll do that. And she did a remarkable job for us.
That is incredible. Thank you so much, Vildan, for sharing that story, for sharing all of this with us. Again, we've got one more segment in our program here, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. So just want to encourage everybody, any questions you have for Vildan, please go ahead and put those in the Q&A feature, and we will get to those as many as we can at the end. But for now, as we transition into the next part of our program, we have a video to share with you all. In this video, you will hear snippets from multiple Abbott high school interns reading open letters to CEOs that they wrote. These letters were published in 7 major US newspapers and are available to read in full on stem.abbott.com. I will tell you, they are so inspiring. I have read each of them a few times now and they still get me. But without further ado, we can hear from the interns themselves. And so I'll turn it over to that video.
During my sophomore year in high school, I was looking around my engineering class when I noticed something. I was the only girl in the room.
There are far too many girls who at this very moment are questioning whether they belong in STEM.
It was demoralizing to see that I was the only girl in my higher level STEM classes.
That's when it hit me, how few women are in STEM.
I noticed it was the boys who were encouraged to do the fun things like light the Bunsen burners or program the robots.
It was hard to picture myself in a field where I saw no one that looked like me.
It wasn't a place where girls like me felt welcomed or encouraged.
When I found out that I got into a high school STEM internship, I had never felt so proud.
I soon met my first ever female engineer.
And they've opened my eyes to what the future of STEM could look like for women like me.
I got the chance to learn from female engineers excelling in their fields.
I remember a woman in leadership telling us about all the incredible things she'd accomplished, and she did it all in a bright pink suit.
It's so important that girls grow up seeing people like them succeeding in STEM, or else many of them might just give up on their dreams.
I urge you to create an inclusive high school STEM internship program so girls can grow up in a world where they see themselves represented.
Not every girl gets the chance to be inspired by female role models. The only question I have for you is why not?
Amazing. And so I am absolutely thrilled to introduce our next 2 speakers. Joining us today are 2 of the young women you just saw in that video. We have with us Fiona Harley, who's a rising college freshman at UCLA. She's going to be studying biology and engineering, and Olivia Munoz, who's a rising high school senior from Dallas, Texas. Fiona, Olivia, thank you both so much for being here with us. We are so excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having us. We're super excited to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Olivia, I want to start with a question for you. I'm wondering if you can tell us about your journey here. How did you first become interested in STEM, and how did that lead you to Abbott's internship program?
Yeah, when I was younger, I honestly didn't see myself in STEM. I was very involved in the arts. I did piano, I did theater. But one day my physics teacher came up to me and asked me if I wanted to be part of our robotics team. And I said, sure. And I did it. And I honestly just fell in love with it. It changed my entire career plan from 8th grade on. And that led me to enroll to my current high school, which is a science and engineering school. And eventually I got in contact with one of the talent acquisition managers at Abbott, and here I am.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us, Olivia. Fiona, I'd love to ask you the same question. Can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Of course. Well, see, I was always such a curious kid growing up. So naturally, I was already drawn to the STEM world and science in general. And I was always that kid like asking questions and chasing the answers. But honestly, my interest in STEM sparked when my dad was in the hospital. He underwent massive brain surgery. And so I was 4 years old at the time. So I was just sitting there in the waiting room. And as a 4-year-old, it's quite difficult to entertain us. And so a few doctors and nurses came over and they brought their stethoscopes and they allowed me to listen to everyone's heart with a stethoscope. And honestly, it was like that deep booming sound. Like I'm super sound oriented, but it was that deep booming that really fascinated me. And I was like, wow, like this is amazing. And it really just geared me to pursuing the sciences, pursuing the maths. And when I got this Abbott internship, my first summer, I was working on a heart device. So I was like, this is what I love. And then carrying on into college, I'm going on to study biology. So it really just stemmed from being curious and just like chasing those answers.
That's incredible. And I hope your dad is doing well to this day. Amazing. as I discussed with Vildan a little bit earlier, there are some companies out there, and maybe even some folks in our audience still, who are thinking, high school students, they might be too young to work on real projects in the corporate STEM world. So, I would like to ask you both to share what you worked on at Abbott. Give our audience an idea of the sorts of projects that you contributed to. Fiona, do you mind if we start with you this time?
Of course. Well, we may be young, but we are definitely more than capable of working on so many STEM projects, as Olivia and I will explain. As I said earlier, I was working on a percutaneous heart pump, PHP, my first year. And then this year, I got put in a microbiology division, which is super interesting because as I'm studying biology, it's super cool to see like all the different fields of biology. And microbiology is a very interesting field to be in.
Thank you so much. Olivia, how about you? Can you tell us a little bit about the projects that you worked on?
Sure. I'm working in Abbott Diagnostics, so we do a lot of testing and a lot of manufacturing here. So for the first year that I was here, I worked in the supply chain area and with the packaging and processing of our kits that go out. And then this year I'm working in quality assurance and working with calibrating equipment. So it's really interesting to me because I'm very like mechanically inclined. And so I really enjoy being hands-on and being able to like actually use some of the instruments that we have.
That's super cool. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm curious about, for both of you, what surprised you about your internship experience? Fiona, if we could start with you, did you learn something that you didn't know before about career opportunities in STEM?
There is so much to learn about. Every day is literally a new day. It's insane. Like you can schedule about 20% of your week, but the other 80%, it's totally up in the air. And you really just hop on new projects every day. But especially this year, because I was in the microbiology division, I always joke about this, but I wasn't given a cubicle this year. I was given a lab. And so I was totally immersed in this lab setting. And I saw like the day-to-day operations of a lab. And it was really cool. And I think that experience itself was invaluable. Plus, I got my own lab coat and it has my name on it. So that was another big plus. And then also being on site this year, 100%, I was able to really develop like personal skills and really start my network. And that's super important, especially at a young age.
Oh, that's so super cool. I bet that was just the most incredible experience being in the lab for the first time with your lab coat. That's amazing. Olivia, what about you? What were some things that were surprising for you about your internship experience?
I think the most surprising thing was just how nice and willing people are to help, because I am 17 years old. I don't know a lot about engineering at this point in my life, but people are very they are so helpful and so willing to go that extra mile for you, to teach you about what's going on, to show you the ropes. And I think that was probably the most things. I thought I would just be, getting copies for people all day, all summer, but I'm not. I'm actually doing hands-on activities, and people are actually giving me really important projects that I feel like I'm actually making a difference even beyond my time here in the summer.
Amazing, absolutely. And I think that speaks to something that we at STEM Connector talk about a lot, which is mentoring, right? There really are so many people out there in the STEM world that want to help. So that's incredible that you were able to connect with them. Earlier when we were talking with Vildan about the new opportunity to earn college credit for your work at Abbott, I want to ask you both about that. So Olivia, if you don't mind starting this time, what does a high school internship program offering college credit mean to you? What impact does that have on a high schooler's path to a STEM degree?
I think for me, it absolutely changes the game. I grew up in Dallas. I've lived my entire life here in South Dallas, and it's not a very wealthy neighborhood or area. And I know many people who have given up on college altogether because they can't pay for it. And I think that giving people this opportunity to fund their college experience and giving them to it and exposing them to it at such a young age really makes such a big difference. Because I know for me, people are like, I don't want to do STEM, that's too expensive. I don't want to go to med school. I don't want to do anything like that. And I think just exposing people to that and giving them an opportunity to really see if that's a good fit for them can really make a big impact on them.
Thank you so much. Fiona, I want to ask you the same question. What does that high school internship offering college credit, what does that do for you as a high school student?
As a high school student, it means so much to be a part of like an internship that offers college credit. Like you don't hear of these things, and obtaining a degree itself is so difficult, and it's so easy to be disheartened. And as Olivia was saying, like this exposure to the STEM field and being introduced to everything that we have to offer really just opens your eyes, and it just encourages people to like keep going on that difficult path. And then also this college credit really validates the work that we do at Abbott, because as we were saying earlier, like most times when you think of an intern, you think, oh, they're going to go fetch coffee, they're going to go make copies for us. But that's definitely not what we do. Like we do so much hands-on activities, and we do so many like projects that we lead, and it's so STEM oriented, and that this college credit is really just validating all our work and all the hard work that we've done.
Thank you so much. Olivia, I want to ask you one more question. Have you noticed any differences in yourself since you participated in the internship program?
Yeah, I think you might be able to tell I'm a little introverted. I tend to kind of stay to myself, but I think that since I've been with Abbott, I've opened up a lot more. I've kind of gotten out of my shell. I know we were talking earlier about mentors, but I think that was probably the biggest impact on me. There are a few college interns here where I'm at, and being able to connect with them and talk about their experiences and how I can improve as a person was like really great for me, because it helped me get used to it and be able to kind of relax and just realize that we're all in this together and that it's okay.
Well, you definitely could have fooled me. The both of you are so well spoken. So, but I appreciate what you're saying about, maybe that's not your go-to is to be extroverted. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. Fiona, I have one more question for you too. So what we saw in that snippet from the video, you and Olivia both wrote these amazing letters to CEOs. Can you share with us, some of the reasons why you think other companies should start internships like Abbott's?
The main reason is that the STEM world could use more brilliant female minds. If you take a look at the statistics, women are there's the amount of women in the STEM field significantly lower than the amount of men. So I think that we also bring a new perspective, And so I think we just need to include more females in the company, and an internship like this, like the STEM internship at Abbott, can really introduce females to the STEM world and really show them what experiences are. And as we both said, at Abbott, there are a lot of female engineers and there's a lot of female scientists, but in our classes, it was like they were more geared towards the males of the class, and they got to do the cool things like turn on the Bunsen burner and all of that. But I would encourage any girl or anybody in general that's super interested in STEM to chase that passion, honestly, to be curious and like keep looking for ways to be personally motivated. Because once you find your personal like motive, you will really just be able to chase any dream that you have. And then also focus on your why, because like my why is teaching people like how to be healthy and like really encouraging like the best life that you can. And so really just living that message, be curious, just continue on the STEM world because it is quite fascinating.
Thank you, Fiona. I know that I said that was my last question for you both, but I have one more, which is, we've talked a little bit about mentors. We talked a little bit about, having role models. And I'm curious for both of you, did you have any STEM role models growing up? Fiona, do you mind starting?
Growing up, I'd say a lot of my science and math teachers were males, but there is this one science teacher in my middle school, actually. She was pretty good at doing like hands-on lab experience and really getting the class interested and pursuing like a STEM role, I guess. And so with a lot of those experiments, I guess she also sparked my interest. But I would still say like definitely I had more male role models than I did female.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty common. I think I would say the same thing. Olivia, what about you? Did you have any STEM role models growing up?
Yeah, I think one of probably the biggest role model that I had was Ellen Ochoa. She was the first female astronaut in space. And for me, as a Hispanic woman, like that was such a big deal for me. And kind of growing up I learned about her in elementary school. And when I did, like it just changed my vision. I thought it was only something for white men, honestly. But I know that there's so much room for improvement, and we've already come such a long way since her time. But I just think she really just opened my eyes to other possibilities, I would say.
Absolutely, and that is so important. Thank you for sharing that, Olivia. So we have plenty of time here for question and answers, and I've got a bunch in the Q&A right here. So I'm going to start with one for you, Fiona, asking, do you have a mentor, and what has that experience been like for you?
I do have a mentor, and I love my mentor. She's the best ever. Again, female, which is super cool because I get to be surrounded by a senior microbiologist every day. And as I'm in the lab, she's able to show me like the activities that she does, and it's super interesting. Everything that she does it's really cool to see like the day-to-day life of a female in STEM. And honestly, it's quite inspiring because she has a little kid of her own and very young, and like as a working mother, she's also working so hard at her job. And it's just inspiring to see that.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Fiona. I have another question here that is directed at Vildan. It's asking if Abbott has been able to make internships work in the regulatory and R&D environments with non-adults. Vildan, do you mind answering that?
Sure. The answer is yes, but obviously I appreciate when we say regulatory affairs, there are degrees of complexities and agency-facing roles and so forth. Obviously, they're not at that stage, but from quality prep, document preparation, research, yes, we have representation in regulatory affairs, but we always have their assignment managers stay close to our students, so they're not like independent or not guided. So it's under supervision. Same thing with R&D.
Thanks, Vildan. Appreciate that. I have another question in here for you, which it's talking about, that this person has an initiative that has a lot of participation, and they're wondering, are there ways to connect students to your program?
Absolutely. On our blueprint, we have a lot of contact information. If it comes directly to me as well, that's fine. And we have a dedicated talent acquisition team who does the selection and interview process, because we want to make sure that it's a very fair process. Sure, whatever connection works, we will certainly follow up.
Thank you, Vildan. Olivia and Fiona, I've got another great question for you both. So Olivia, if you don't mind, we'll start with you. Would you want to go back to work for Abbott after you graduate college?
Definitely, honestly.
I asked this question.
I would definitely say, obviously I'm keeping my options open, but I can truly see myself sitting right where my cubicle is right now and just working here every day. I mean, it really, like, I can see the impact that they make every single day. And that to me is just it's so valuable. And I really can really see myself working, maybe not at this specific location in Dallas, maybe, I don't know. The thing is, there's so many different divisions and so many different specialties that you can really do anything here. And I really do value that a lot.
Amazing. Thank you, Olivia. Fiona, if we can ask you the same question, would you go back and work for Abbott after graduating?
Oh, yes. So, piggybacking off of what Olivia was saying, there's so many opportunities here at Abbott. And so basically, we get to learn, like when I was doing my networking, I met so many different people of different backgrounds. I got to meet different majors. And honestly, the STEM world just has so many opportunities. And so, of course, moving into college, it's personal development as well as academic development. I will definitely be in the STEM world. Amazing. Abbott is an amazing company, would definitely consider that. But as always, keeping your options open, and really just seeing where life will take you.
Thanks, Fiona. Vildan, I've got a couple more questions in the chat for you. The first one being, can you share more about how Abbott transitions high school interns into the college internship program?
So we partner up with NACE, National Association for College, and they have a framework. They guided us what needs to be submitted in order to be qualified for this accreditation. And then they have some kind of systematic way of putting values in each activity or learning. It took us almost a year. It's a very rigorous process, and there are a lot of interviews, validation, submissions, etc. And then they come back with their final assessment. But the good news, we have updated our blueprint, and we have published a new chapter. So if you download the blueprint, there's a section how to apply, what to do in advance of application, and potential questions and documentation required so that you can be prepared.
Thank you so much, Vildan. A couple other questions for you, if you don't mind. We have some folks asking about how much coaching is needed to prepare students, particularly from low income and high risk communities for their STEM internships. Can you share anything about that?
So honestly, most of the coachings are taking them out of their shells. They have incredible gems inside them, but they just don't know. So our job is to bringing that confidence back, trust back, and just being a mirror for them. And there are some, coachings in relation to, how to present or how to, prepare a presentation and how to answer questions in front of executives, this and that. Like any of our professional journeys, right? We started and we just didn't know. We learned by experience. So we are trying to accelerate their learning through coaching and mentoring. But most of them are like, yeah, you can do this. Yeah, you got this type of, encouragement. Then I would say coaching. We honestly, like, zero record of inappropriate behavior or anything like that. We have been blessed. So absolutely, they get good guidance, good direction. And that's part of your selection as well, right? You try to find the best fit for your organization.
Thank you so much, Vildan. I have one last question here, and this one is directed at Fiona. It says, you wrote in your letter that you were the only girl in the room. How does working at Abbott change your outlook on the future of STEM?
It shows me that the future of STEM is women and men together working really like cohesively towards this goal. It's not one over the other. It's really that it's just human beings just working together in one role. But really working with Abbott has shown me that there are so many females in the STEM world. And it's I want to go into the STEM field, but I don't want to be alone, I don't want to be just by myself. I want more minds like mine and not like mine, different perspectives. But it's really encouraging to see the amount of females that work at Abbott, because it shows that they are hashtag girl bosses, that hashtag is trending all over because we are the future of STEM.
Love that. Thank you so much, Fiona. So I will just quickly, I'm taking one last look at the Q&A. If anybody has any burning questions for Olivia, Vildan, and Fiona, please send those in. And it looks like we've got one more. So this is for Vildan, asking about, when it comes to providing stipends or payment for high school interns, maybe there are some challenges for them. Do you have any advice on locating funding sources? So anything you have to address that?
So first of all, just ask your student base what would be meaningful for them, and try to directly, indirectly assess what might be the valuable additional investment that you can provide them with, other than the internship experience and funding. The best way to start is find someone very passionate, an engineer, an executive, a leader. And you will need that strong voice internally. We were blessed, one of our top engineers, female engineers, who have retired after 30 years of terrific Abbott career. She was extraordinary. She believed in it. She thought that's a personal calling, and we rallied around her. So business representation is important. And every time we try to make a case, right? And then once you start small and show the value that these kids add to your organization, and your reputation and your sustainability, then it becomes a natural effort. But if you're like fresh, like nobody heard about this program, we are not even talking about it, start with a champion. If you're on the, let's say, yeah, I think there is interest, they understand it, then start highlighting the successes of the members and the students, and then add upon your sustainability goal so that becomes a shared goal for the corporation. And there are some more ideas. There's a specific funding page on our blueprint as well. You're most welcome to take a look at that list as well.
Thank you so much, Vildan. Seeing no other questions, Fiona, Olivia, Vildan, thank you all so much for being here and sharing with us today. I have had so much fun with this, and I know that our audience has too. And thank you everybody who has tuned in today. We really appreciate you all. Please, check out the blueprints, check out the blueprint, check out the letters, check out the video. All of this is available through Abbott's website and the blueprints on STEM Connector's website. Please, if there's any other questions that you had that we didn't address, feel free to shoot us an email, and we'll be sure to, follow up with those, offline. But thank you all so much for your time today. We appreciate it and hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.